Yep.
All right. 6:30, I'll call the meeting to order. Kim, do you have roll call? Got it. Thank you. We need approval of the March 9, 2023 agenda. I also am going to add G3, G.3, 1111 West Genesee Street, the building appearance to our other business is number 3 on the agenda tonight.
I'll approve the agenda as suggested.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion carries. Move on from the minutes, you have from the regular meeting held on February 9th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 9th, 2023. February 9th, 2023.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Move on to public comments. I'll open the public comments. If you'd like to address the board on anything that's not already on, if you don't have any public hearings, if you'd like to address the board tonight, just state your name and address.
There was one moment.
Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close public comments. Move on, no public hearing scheduled this evening or site plan reviews. So we'll move on to our other business.
I'm going to approve the car wash site plan extension. Second.
Any discussion? Everybody reviewed? Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Move on to the 2024 to 2029 capital improvement program. Dale, would you like to
Thanks.
present?
I'll get up because I have to be closer to it to see it. But this is our annual review of the capital improvement program items that are included in the soon-to-be proposed city commission budget. These items are, as you can see, numerous all around the community. It's a pretty aggressive series of items. We have a lot of grant dollars and special donations coming to the city. We have a benefactor that has given quite a chunk of money to the Parks and Rec program. I'm gonna close this. And so as we proceed, I'll just go around the outside of from top to bottom, right to left. The upper right-hand corner is the total for the CIP for the next year, $11.5 million, more than $11.5 million. So that's roughly the same as the general fund budget this time and last year's general fund budget. So first item on the agenda is a water tower base repair. $70,000 is the estimate to repair the base on the water tower. It is in the budget. There's going to need to be work done to decide if in fact the water tower should be kept or scrapped. That space could be used for additional travel trailer space, or it can remain and the water tower may be considered a landmark. That'll be up to the city commission as they move forward with these, the decision on how they want to proceed. If they want to let that go and or work on it and repair it and keep it there. So that's the item in. You see, that's where we're starting at the top. Next item is wastewater treatment plant oxidation repair and sensor replacement. We tested a project or a process to aerate the sludge at the wastewater treatment plant. We used to run these huge paddles made of stainless steel that whipped the water into a foam to introduce oxygen. We tried a blower system that floats on top and moves around the tank. It's been proven to be much more effective, and it is significantly less than the paddle system. So we are switching over our other oxidation ditch to that style of product. Pipe repair and replacement, retention basin, and that is and substation maintenance in that area over by the wastewater treatment plant out in front of it. So that is the next project on the list. Fairly self-explanatory.
Can I ask you a question right now, or?
Anytime.
Okay, on the oxidation ditch repair, when you said it's better, is it that it's cheaper to run or cheaper to replace the paddle?
Both. It's less expensive to drive it, it's less expensive to maintain,
Oh,
and
Okay.
it's less expensive down the road. Those paddles are very expensive, and we have to replace them every 5
which
to
means it's,
10 years.
that makes it even more efficient.
Right.
Okay, that was all.
She's just
Okay.
fantastic.
Yeah, economy, efficiency is definitely there. The linear park pathway replacement. This is the first pathway that was put into the city. It is being ground up, repaired and replaced. It's in rough shape. It's the roughest in the city. So that project has a very expensive price tag. A lot of that, 100% of that, I believe, is Spark. No, 75% of that is Spark grant. That is a grant we received from the DNR. We're one of, I believe, we were in the top 10, and I think there were a total of 18 or 19 that were awarded across the state. So
Where is that?
that's all of the area between Saginaw and M24,
Okay, down through
up
downtown.
by the Water Tower Park and all around there.
And it's that maroon line that kind of switches.
Yeah, this one,
Oh, okay.
right?
Just in the linear park, okay, thank you.
Center for the Arts building improvements, $10,000. That's in every year for incidental work that needs to be done to the Pix or gallery. That is a repair or maintenance larger than $1,000. So this year, we're looking at some carpet work in the basement. That is in that price range too. Fox Street culvert and sanitary main. That is a replacement of a culvert under the road and repair work on the sanitary sewer main in Fox Street. Genesee Street bridge replacement. That's another big one, $2,100,000. That is a project that we have been applying for grants for over 10 years. Originally, I applied for Tiger grants, which are federal grants. Then this time around, 2 years ago, we asked for an earmark through the federal budget. Last year, we asked for an earmark. It was put on Lisa McLean's earmark list, and it was put on Senator Stabenow's earmark list. And we received through Congresswoman McLean's earmarks, the set aside or the earmark for $2 million. The money is flowing down through MDOT. They're still deciphering how they're going to distribute the money to us, but we can also do planning and engineering with that money. So we expect that project will actually come in under $2.1 million, and it'll be 100% funded. DPW Power Gate, we have not, the entrance to the DPW is a manual gate. They would like to be able to have a power gate so that as they approach, they don't have to stop, get out, open, close it, and continue. They can hit the button, go in, and then come out a little more efficient time-wise. Drinking fountain replacement, $6,500. That's at several drinking fountains throughout the park system. You probably all see them. They're a little wooden stand with a little stainless steel fountain on it. They're upgrading those. They've been there for at least 18 years because they haven't changed since I've been here. Andrews River Estate, $500 million. That is going to be the first special assessment the city has done for road work in a long time. The estimate was created last year. We had to do some significant research to figure out who paid for the first layer of road work done. And it turned out that the entire parcel was special assessed or billed for the original road work that's in there. And this is the removal and replacement of the balance of the road where all the new homes have been built in the last couple of years. So they're greater than 90% built out, and the cul-de-sacs, everything are just in terrible, terrible shape. So they're going to be, I don't think there'll be any curb replacement, but the subbase foundation will be milled, replaced, and additional foundation material brought in and paved. And the estimate is $500,000. Monroe Street Preventative Maintenance Project, that's actually a bridge. I missed that. Monroe Street Bridge. We applied for a year ago. We've received the monies to put a surface on this bridge. It's maintained and monitored by Spicer Group. We had all the details put in for the bridge replacement. That'll be our 9th or 10th bridge we've done in the last 3 years. And the cost of that is $256,000, and it is a grant-funded project. Community center, a lot of work at the community center. Some of it is funded through donation. The gentleman that gave a big, massive donation to the city Park and Rec department, and some of it is going to be done with our general fund dollars. The water slide needs replaced. It has been repaired to make it completely functional, but it is very old. It's the original water slide and stairwells, metal stairs that keep eroding from the corrosive activity of the chlorine. So that has been on the top list for the Parks Department. So that's where they're spending the first chunk of dollars. They propose that to the people that are donating the cash to the Parks Department, and that was the first one on their list. So that is grant funded. The hot water boiler replacement, that is the original boiler in the rec center. It had leaked, it was fixed, it's leaked, it's been fixed. It leaked, we fixed it, and the guy said, we're not gonna ever be able to fix this again. You must replace it. Replacing it will be, there'll be plenty of time to order it, get it in place, and replace it probably during the shutdown in August. And the new boiler will be more efficient, smaller, it'll be more effective. I know you guys like the energy efficiency side of it. And then the cardio fitness equipment, that's an upgrade to the existing equipment replacement. It's past, most places change them every 3 years. That stuff has been there 7 years. So we will be replacing it, and we sell the old stuff, so we get a good chunk of the expense back when we sell the old ones.
Excuse me, are both of those hot water and cardio also grant? funded?
No, those are
Just
our
the top
projects. Yeah. The residential property improvement fund, these are, again, things that show up every year in our budget. We set aside $100,000 to potentially renovate or purchase or build. Last time we built a house through the housing department. Am I locking here, dude? And that's the $100,000 that's been in our budget every year. The next one, sidewalk repair and maintenance. We do that every year, $50,000 worth, up to $50,000. We do whole regions or sections of the city, And rarely do we replace anymore. We do a lot of grinding, which has significantly extended our budget and the impact on the sidewalks. Scrub seal, major and local streets, we bumped that from $50,000 to $60,000 this year. And that is what you saw done to the roads right out here by City Hall. That was only phase one of those roads. They will get a second coat as part of their original project. These are new roads throughout town that will get that scrub seal major and local work. Okay, I'll come over to this side, start at the top. Cemetery road repair. We have been harassed for many years. No, not just by many people that use the cemetery. There's a lot of original road there. We did some road work a few years ago. We have decided that the condition of the road is such that it is time to mill and resurface it. We're going to do that in conjunction with other projects, the park pathway replacement as an example, so we get an economy of scale in the pricing. And it's a very similar style project because the roads are not full width roads. So they'll be able to lump them all together for better asphalt and milling and resurfacing pricing.
So you're saying that's why you moved it up?
Yes, yeah, that's why and there's another one we're doing. There were a total of 3. I might have to go find it, but there was another piece of road work that we were doing because we're going to lump them all together so that we would get a better price. I'm sure I'll come across it as we keep going here. Park Street reconstruction, water main improvements. Park Street has been on the budget for a long time. This is something we would be doing out of existing fund balance, $250,000. There will be some improvement to the actual street, but most of this is based on redoing the water line that needs service. We will have other improvements occurring if there's a lead or galvanized service line in that area. Those are also being done this summer as part of our bigger lead and galvanized service line replacement project. So we're going to take care of the main line in Park Street this next year. Public safety building, they have some bad concrete in a couple of spots. So bids have been taken. That concrete will be removed, replaced. It's very heavy duty stuff. So it takes a lot of days for it to cure. I don't think we'll need to relocate the trucks, but if we do, then those trucks will they'll be outside. You might see them outside versus stored indoors as they typically are. Pump track is committed here, $223,000. That is the first phase. The money has been set aside by the city commission to invest in that project. It also ties up that piece of land that would be in front of Chatfield School from between Chatfield's parking lot and Tennessee Street and Lake Street. That is the proposed site. There is a group that will take this project then and continue fundraising to do the work. What I believe the estimated cost of the track is $500,000, and then whatever improvements are needed to prep for it, which would mean leveling the lot, clearing the trees, that sort of thing. Oakdale Tunnel refurbishment and mural. What we're planning to do is go into the Oakdale Tunnel, strip it down. We've done that before over the years. This time, bring someone in to do a mural, and then we're going to cover it with a surface so that if it gets graffiti, I believe it is now, well, it was this morning, I think it's been taken care of, we can then either clean it off or remove the surface and replace it. So it won't disturb the mural, and it'll remain nice and be able to be turned over quickly.
I'm sorry, which tunnel are you referring to? The little one, the little path one?
The one that is
Or the one
behind,
with those painted, pillars underneath the actual bridge.
Yeah, the pillars under the bridge are,
But that
those,
were painted back sometime.
those were painted, yes, by an artist. This is the tunnel behind Chatfield that goes underneath the railroad tracks as part of our path. Genesee Street water main replacement. You see that big chunk there. That is $4.2 million. It is grant funded for up to $2 million. We have received funding to replace from MEDC to replace that water line. It's one of our most difficult and regular breaking problem lines. So it'll be a brand new line from Harrison to DeMille. So, big project. Now, fortunately, because, well, I won't say, fortunately isn't the right word. The water line has to stay active during the replacement. So a trench will be dug next to the water line to place the new water line. And that will require more of the road to be, surface to be removed. So we will end up removing and repaving all of Genesee Street through that area as well. The north side will get new curbs. The south side curbing is in good shape. I think there's one small spot that will get replaced. Otherwise, Genesee will be a brand new street after that as well. Major street work. Another one of the drinking fountains, Scranton Park, tennis court and pickleball. We are refurbishing the tennis courts, and the end result will be they'll no longer be tennis courts. They'll be really pickleball courts, and the sub-use will be tennis. So where it occasionally is pickleball on a tennis court, this is going to be kind of the opposite of it. It is designed to be our first serious pickleball courts. So, a very popular thing. 9-hole disc golf course is in that same area. That park has room per a study that was done by the, what's the name of the club? You're in the club. All right, anyway, do you know the name of the club, Mark? The bicycle club brought somebody in, asked them to look at it. A study was produced of this particular area to see if it could accommodate a disc golf course. It is capable of accommodating a 9-hole disc golf course. Oops, I'm in the wrong spot. Yeah, right there.
Dale, wasn't it the Oakdale Trails, and then that was for the pump track? It was a different group, I think, for the disc golf.
No, it's all the same group. Yeah, it's all the same group. They were all, the presentation was made to them. It's been propelled by the bicycle club in town.
Oakdale Trail Club, basically.
Yeah, they're the bicyclists that work with Cambria and
They
the
did the
others.
Beaver the Dash.
Right for a cause.
Yeah, Crank for a Cause, there you go.
It was all stemmed from the same idea, basically, the same group of people.
Completely two different companies. Two different presentations.
There was.
But
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right, to the park board, right, but it was all originated out of that bicycle club and Crank for a Cause guys, the Oakdale Trail group that you mentioned. There's about 50 people roughly that get together on a regular basis, and they were the ones that had the original that sent it to park board as their suggested work. So, anyway, the area will sustain a disc golf course, so it has been funded, and that will be installed this spring, if not early summer.
Is that 33,330?
So you're on, that's the tennis court refurbishing, pickleball tennis courts.
Yeah, but the figure is that.
Then the 9-hole golf course is 114,920.
What's the pickleball? Sorry, the question. So I see it's
Oh.
missing a zero. Is that 300?
Oh, yeah, it's 330,000, right. And then in the original draft of this, it was 3.3 million because there was an extra zero. So it got extra corrected.
Too.
Yeah,
Where was the commas supposed to actually go?
So, yeah, it's 330,000 for the tennis courts, 114 for the disc golf course. The pedestrian trail design engineering is for the tunnel where it comes out on the west side. We now have the land as of December of last year. So we will be designing and engineering and bidding the ramp. Well, hopefully the bidding will be requesting a grant to build the ramp up to M24. So then that whole section can be opened and they can traverse M24 without going across an 8-9 lane road. They can go under it. The Alabar lift station rehabilitation, that is Alabar at the end of Whitney Drive, the old city manager Whitney Drive, is a lift station and it needs refurbishing. It has been placed on CIP. It's its turn. So that project is next on the list, $275,000. So over here in the separated square is really all about vehicles specifically. The first one on the list is our annual police vehicle purchase. There's 2 on for the following year's vehicles, not this year, but next year. Then there's a vehicle on the list for the building official, the building inspectors. The dump box for a dump truck, $35,000. That is a new stainless, that's a new box for an existing dump truck, the physical square dump box. And so they'll take it off and replace it. The current one's very rusty. Vehicle for the fire chief. Last year, his vehicle was pushed to this year. So in the next year, we will look to get him a new vehicle. Tandem axle dump truck, $380,000. That is one of the really big dump trucks. So DPW doesn't replace them. I'd have to look it up, but I believe it is an 80s dump truck?
It's been gone for probably 5 years.
Yeah, so it needs replaced. Brush utility truck. This is for the fire department. It's a $120,000 new truck to haul a tank, a pump, hose reel, etc., out into fields to fight grass fires. Our current one is very old. It has a failing transmission, so it's time to buy a new one of those brush trucks. 3/4 ton pickup truck for parks, $52,000. 3/4 ton for the water department, $57,000. I'm sure it has a different box on it for tool storage, etc. A brand new wood chipper, $55,000. It's been a long time since we bought a wood chipper. Again, the replacement of the one is the actual year is in your CIP, so you could look at that if you're curious. Zero turn mower, we get about 1 a year. Electric screw lift and attachments. This is an expensive extra for our DPW mechanics building. We have used individual lifts for the tires for fire trucks. This would replace the old failing. They have to be blocked because they can't pull up the fire trucks anymore. So we are replacing those electronic lifts that are strong enough to lift our fire trucks. Trackless, this is just a plow for our trackless that you see running around downtown and out doing the sidewalks leading to the 2 schools. They've had a lot of trouble this year in particular with the type of snow that comes. The brush can't clear it off. It builds up and freezes up on the brush. So they have asked for a plow. It's a 5-directional plow so they can tip it in on the edges and all kinds of stuff.
So it was salt, the one that's not working as well.
No, we use it, it depends on the type of snow. It actually has a snow blower too, but the blower can't get close to the ground. So it's different utensil on the front for whatever the weather is like at that time. Usual picnic table replacement, that's been in there for a number of years. We are converting our tables to the much larger, heavy picnic tables that do not leave the pavilions. Energy management software upgrade, that is for Parks and Rec. They have a computer system that operates everything in the building. Heat exchangers, the furnace, the air exchangers, all of that is run through a computer system. It is unable to be maintained or modified, so they are asking, and we are putting it in the budget to upgrade that software for the electronic energy management system at the rec center. Fire suppression, hose lines and nozzles, that's also at the rec center. Portable radios, this is for the fire department. They have been upgrading and replacing their radios. The department accreditation that has been on the agenda for a few years for the police department, that is the cost of the project, the software, and the auditing. And the last one is handgun replacement. They're going to convert from the 45 caliber handguns we have now to standard 9mm handguns. They are lighter, they carry more bullets per gun, and the old ones are roughly 12 years old. Okay, that's everything. Any questions?
I have a question. Right at the beginning of water tower, when you're saying it will be decided whether it's, repaired and stays as, or it's torn down. So the 70,000 obviously is to repair. Who decides that? Like, is that
It's going to be up to the city commission.
Okay.
They'll have to decide if they find it is significant enough landmark to keep it, or if they prefer, because it is not going to end at $70,000. There'll be maintenance to the structural steel. There'll be maintenance over several years that'll have to be spent on that item.
So even if, let's say they didn't want to repair it and decided that that would be a cost to take it down and
Yes,
get rid of it.
but it's a
anyway.
one-time cost.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying it wouldn't probably be near 7,000 even this one.
No, I wouldn't think, because what we can't figure out, or we don't know, because we just aren't that good of an engineer, what value does it have for scrap metal? So somebody may take it down for just the right to haul the scrap away. So we don't know that yet.
Anyone else, Commissioner Shea?
Yeah, probably just my health background, the water fountains with the, we're still dealing with COVID a little bit. Are the newer ones designed in such a way that there's some degree of less risk of contamination?
Well, water during COVID, most drinking fountains were
Shut down.
shut down
Right.
because of the risk of, in the beginning, contamination. Now, I think the conventional wisdom is you don't get COVID through touch. You inhale it, or it's mainly airborne. And then the water that comes out of the drinking fountains is already chlorinated, so it's safe.
But the arch of the water coming out was too close to the thing, so is that, the arch of the water coming out?
I would assume that
So that
is
there's
all
less
taken
risk.
into in the design these
Okay.
days. I'm not a doctor, even though I have
Yeah.
stayed in the
Yeah.
hospital.
No, that was just, I know that.
So, yeah, they will, whoever's producing these days are the ones that are at risk, so
Okay.
I'm sure they've taken that into account.
Okay. So the city's not a risk, it's
Any other questions?
I question that. experience. Yeah, I have a couple questions. Thank you. The tandem axle dump truck, and I know Chris's church, but in last year's CIP, it was kind of figured that it'd be about 205,000. This year, it's like 308.
380,000.
I know that things have gone up, but my gosh, what's the difference between last year's tandem truck and this year? That's
Definitely the cost has
ridiculous.
gone up.
Should
The
go up double.
cost we're seeing on vehicles is roughly 25%, but that may include a stainless steel box on it now, and it didn't last year, because that estimate in last year's CIP, since it wasn't gonna happen that year, hadn't been updated, so that estimate could be 5 years old. This one is a brand new, cost from the manufacturer. And my guess is, again, I haven't looked at it, but I believe it is a stainless steel bed, which is significantly more expensive than the original metal type that were on the other trucks before. Well, you can see,
Down payment on a fire truck for that.
right, there's where's the one dump truck box? Just the box alone, 35,000, and I don't believe that's a tandem axle truck. So, so
Commissioner Jones?
I had just one
Alderman
more.
Stolper?
My other question was on a vehicle for the building inspectors. We currently have one, are we gonna have two then? I mean, cause we got, are you replacing or are we planning
Yeah,
on
the-
two? What,
the
because I don't know.
the vehicle
if
that
being-
the building inspector has been driving is a hand-me-down that came from the police department. They are not gonna be handing me down, they're hanging on to one this round because of the time and effort that it takes in some of the maintenance, so they don't wanna be down a car. The building official's vehicle is at the end of its life, so it is planning to be exchanged, and then this will be a new one for that department instead of a used one. Oh, yeah, for sure. Right. Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, the dump truck. What I was reading, it's gonna be a roll-off style box. Still have connections at the DPW, and some of the thinking behind this dump truck is the leaf machine is gonna be converted. They're gonna get an extra box for this truck, and which is gonna require the leaf machine to be totally scrapped and gone to a different design. And if this is a roll-off for that purpose, it is very dysfunctional. The leaf machine we got now works very well, it needs some upgrades. But this dump truck, if you want a legitimate tandem that's gonna haul some product, you don't get the box with a roll-off on it, because the GPW, what you're gonna haul with this thing is severely reduced because of all the infrastructure that holds this. You've all seen the roll-off dumpsters, that's what this would be. And that's what I am reading in the language here. So I can't recommend anything like that. I worked at the DPW, and we haven't had that tandem on there for years, and we really didn't miss it. We've got a really nice tandem down there that is functional probably 9 months out of the year without the salter in the back. And there's a whole fleet of single axle trucks down here, but I just don't see the benefit of having to spend $380,000 on a truck that's not gonna haul the most, and really, ultimately, I don't think they need it. So I don't know where this all goes from here. It's gonna go to commission, and there's gonna be more talk on it, but that's my opinion on this. And I take that stuff seriously. I've been around this kind of stuff my whole life. And, there's some other things on the CIP in the future too that I don't want to just, next phase, we're gonna just approve all this because the Oregon Street project that's coming up, there is no water on it. It's from M24 to Suncrest. And it needs water replacement, and there's no water replacement in the budget for this project. And it dearly needs it. So I would not approve anything like that for that project. We do good stuff on just about every project, and you can't just disregard the water main on that project. It just can't be done.
Marty, what project are you referring to?
It's coming up, Oregon. It's basically it was from Main Street to Suncrest. There
We're
was
gonna
no,
rip up that brand new road.
I don't know how far out it is. We can look it up.
no, the new road starts at Suncrest and goes to Millville. So this is supposed to go to Suncrest,
Yeah.
all the way to Main.
But then is that-
That's right, there was an overlay or something that made it better for that from Suncrest.
Not this part.
After that.
Oh,
after
they've
that
done some
first
seal
project,
coating
yeah,
on it.
seal coating.
Yeah, they
We're
did,
talking about page 17.
they did some Band-Aid work on it, which
Yeah,
they
they did.
needed,
Yeah.
that's justifiable,
It's under Major Street, it's the last row.
Same year as
So I don't-
Genesee.
So I see that in 26.
It's coming up.
26,
I mean,
27.
that's projection, and it could all change.
Well,
I'm
so
voicing it now because
this
it's-
is 26, 27 budget. That would be 4 years out. It is listed as partially funded by Act 51 or major street funding, and the other portion is a small urban task force grant that I believe has already been awarded. I put in for that. We do those over a series of years. So that surface, that would be a mill for that little bit of money. That would be maybe a 1 inch and a half mill over that section and a recap to restore the surface in 4 years. It wouldn't be a complete replacement for those few dollars.
Well, they're supposed to do some water main work too, because there's services in that area. When they redid that road back in the late 80s, they lowered the road, which made the water services shallow. So
Well,
there's supposed to be language in there to
So
upgrade that too.
our DPW, the water department, works with streets department, the overall street superintendent would have a conference. They would work on this as a group so they could address those in advance of resurfacing the road. There might even be a lead service line or replacement in there that would happen in the next year also. But I would be confident that any water work that would need to be done would be done before the surface was reconstructed. And that's our practice. We've been doing it that way for at least last 15 years, that we always look at the utilities under the road before we redo the surface. And often, if we can, we remove the utilities from under the roadway before we do the project. So we don't ever have to touch that surface to fix a water leak or a service line. As far as the tandem axle truck, my comments on that are that it was a 1984 dump truck to be replaced. Is that 40 years old, that it should easily qualify to be upgraded. The mechanics division looks at the trucks. They make recommendation based on the requests of the DPW gentlemen that use it and operate it. As far as the leaf truck and the leaf trailer, they tested a new leaf trailer system this last fall. And I couldn't tell you if this improvement is related to that new system, but they plan out pretty far ahead. So the truck is definitely due for replacement.
Like I said, the truck's been for over 5 years. And it was a converted tractor to a dump truck.
So, any other questions? Yes.
I do, I have one. So I know on your retirement, that you get to take the car. Do we need to put a vehicle in for the new city manager? Would that be something that we need to potentially have in the budget, or how's that work?
As far as I know, there is not one in the budget at this time. I know there isn't one in there. So the city commission would have to decide that with the new contract of the new manager, whoever that is.
Thank you. I think I'm good. Is there anybody, any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion or any suggestions?
I would make a motion to adopt the FY 23 to 29 capital improvement program.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Opposed. We have 2 opposed. Yeah, so hold on, so with that, though, the motion carries.
Yes.
So.
Carries 5-2.
Okay, so first I'll say thank you for the presentation. And yes, what was your comment?
Number one, not Dale's or anybody's fault here. I was late because I was in another meeting, so I didn't get to hear a little bit in the beginning. But I have, due to some other things that we've been doing this week, have not had a good opportunity to go line by line. My concern is how all this fits in with our budget. So where on the surface, I think all these projects are great, and I love to have improvements within our city. I can't endorse something until I know that it's gonna be budgeted properly. Some of these things might have to be taken off. So therefore, I have to vote no.
I'm
Not that I disagree with necessarily, but I'm not gonna approve it without having the additional.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
You heard what I had to say, that's what I rest on is, don't think there's enough scrutiny and, so.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Shea?
It's kind of, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but since that came up, I heard that, I think it's at the state level, that there's some kind of funding for cities that have marijuana facilities. It breaks down to, I think it's a 6-figure or better amount being awarded to cities who have marijuana businesses that have made a certain amount. I don't know, would that have an impact on this year's budget, or would that be something that will be factored into next year's budget? And have we heard whether or not we qualify for some of that? Just, I was gonna bring it up, but
Please.
That is, this body's objective is to approve the capital improvement projects going forward for the next several years. Kind of the roadmap of what we're looking to do citywide. But to address your comments, the city has received over $300,000 last year and this year towards general fund to be assigned wherever. The county gets the exact same amount of money that we do, and they assign it wherever they do in their budget. It is a revenue item. We budget for it every year. The last 2 years, it's been greater than what we budgeted for.
so it's sort of factored in, but not totally, so there's.
It's in the revenue side of the budget, not
Okay.
typically the expenses. I listed one of the items in this budget that the money was earmarked to be spent on, and that was the pump track
Okay.
project.
Okay,
That was last.
And disc golf too.
Last year.
so that might help her concerns, that was my other reason for bringing it up.
I can make additional comment on that money has not been decided upon with the commission on what it would be allocated for this amount, which was, yes, over 300,000. Not much different than last year. But no plans have been made on that. So, a lot can change. There's some good ideas floating out there.
Seems like that would help cover it.
Well,
I
I think
guess-
that they have other projects in mind, truthfully.
And my
But-
only other comment would be, thank you, for the budget that you presented. Having been on that task force and looking towards the future, again, it was back in 2000. But some of the, areas that we needed to improve on were, cultural and things that would attract the middle and higher income families to the area. And the fact that the plan is to add a lot more variety of, it would appear cultural and parks activities with that 9-hole golf course. And we're getting more of a balanced blend of things that might attract those kind of families to the area. So I guess I see that as a positive. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that there's more efforts to create things like that for attracting those kinds of people to the area.
Thank you. All right, any more discussion on that? If not, we'll move on to our agenda. We added G.3 for 111 West Genesee Street, the building appearance. Caitlin, would you like to present to us, please?
Yes, and so thank you for adding this to the agenda. This is something that came out of a notice that they had made some changes to their facade work without getting the necessary permits. And so the applicant had asked, due to some of the language that's located in our zoning ordinance, there is an exemption specifically listed. If the computer will not freeze. So the top picture is what it previously looked like, and that was part of the site plan approval. Where this property is, that they had that sand kind of color, earth tone thing. And so now what they have done is they painted the entire building black. That's the different
Wow.
change. And so black is not considered a earth tone color. You can use it as accent. And so the initial notice had indicated that they would need to change it to be consistent with that.
Did they change the name?
Is
That officially changed?
So it is no longer going to be Heads, the name of the establishment. The current owners and operators are still Oxtail, but also this exclusive brands. Those are going to be the new operators. And so under new leadership, and so kind of quickly going through, this is part of the approved site plan. They didn't change the building materials, they just changed the color. And so the front facade has the mixture of stone, but also some of the previous stucco. If you move to the west side of the building, which is closer to the restaurant, great. You can see that it's bricking closer to the left, and then the top portion is that stucco type material. And then to the south, specifically, it's majority of it's more that stucco material. And then when you go to the east, which is going to be the new grow facility that's being proposed there, that would be primarily that stone color. And so the provision talks about being earth tone or neutral color. So we've never considered black to be fully one of those neutral colors. They could still have some of the building remain black as an accent, one of those two different materials, but they wouldn't be able to paint the entire building black. And that's my interpretation of the language. And so the applicant is asking that black be designated as their trademark colors. And so the planning commission can approve the entire black building if you would like to. And so the applicant did provide some different samples of other storefronts that they operate, including that black build facade and some of their different merchandise that are all black as part of that discussion. And so that's the general direction that we're looking for from this planning commission, is to agree with allowing the entire black facade as using that trademark notation that allows for that exception.
All right, thank you, Caitlin. Any discussion?
Yes, of course. Sorry. It was a beautiful building, but how can we allow them to do something outside of the box here for this all black when we turn down for their trademark of another building on M24, like the car wash, where their building in different places is gray and red. And we made them, trying to convince them to make their own changes, which they have not come back, so. We don't know what the end result on that is. But how can we do
Whoa, whoa,
one
whoa,
here and
what-
not
what-
the other?
What do you mean by that? So it has, so the Tommy's Car Wash has a variety of different facade materials, and that wasn't something that meets our requirements. So the red accent color, which is their trademark color, is an accent component. It is
Not
not
in all
majority of
states.
the building.
Not in all areas.
But when they proposed to us, when they were here, a couple different, like, this is one with the accent, this is one they really wanted all red, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
then we all
So
agreed
they
we
have-
wanted the accent one?
It wasn't cardinal red, it was maroon,
Yeah, and
black right there.
Yep, so they have a variety of different grays that were proposed as part of that. It wasn't supposed to be all black.
yes, originally, if I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, they wanted the entire building to be red with the top of the towers being this dark color. And we said, no, that doesn't match our facade requirements. So they returned with this look. It was approved, and that is what they will be building, is what we're looking at right there.
Correct.
I remember seeing that during this presentation, and I'm like, yes, that looks great. Remember that? I never saw a cardinal red building. I never did see that. It might have showed up on your desk during the process before it got to us, but that is what I saw that night, and that is not what we approved. We did not approve that.
See, I remember that we had pictures and of the bright red that we were all like, oh my gosh. So we had suggested either you do the bright red as an accent. This is, I mean, and I could be wrong, but what I'm recalling, we suggested it be the accent, the red be an accent, or a compromise was then to this dark red. What I remember.
I could be wrong too. How do y'all know?
So
I remember
do-
us.
You-
So
you
do
were
they
right.
have an
Originally, they
approval?
wanted a red building. And we said,
So we just approved their site plan extension. We are still waiting for revised plans to address all of the outstanding conditions. The outstanding condition did not include the facade components. We had talked at length at that meeting, talking about a few different scenarios. So they have a few different corporate models, is I guess how I would put it. I believe they pushed for the one with more red, and we told them that we needed one that was less red. And so that was the negotiation component, but their trademark was specifically for red, and that building is not fully black.
Well, and that's, is that
And that's
the thing
something
that
that this applicant, you could, so the interpretation without needing a waiver is the idea that you could have either the stone or the stucco component, that more smooth surface. One of those could be changed to be gray. And so therefore, you're not having it entirely black, it still has a little bit of that neutral component to it, as somewhere that would be meet in the middle. I don't think it's fair to say they have to restore it exactly to what it was previously. That's really not feasible, because of the different colors of stone and stuff like that. They've already painted it. And so part of it's just adding more of a variety along that building regarding that color scheme.
Are you saying they already painted it all black?
Yes,
So is it complete how they want it?
the applicant,
Yeah, is the building how they want it right now?
that's right.
Okay, I'll do it right now. I'll get it. I mean, I'm not gonna vote on something, I don't even know what it looks like now. It can't be all black. The whole thing is black.
It's-
that's the
There's-
picture, Marty, it's all black.
The bottom
I mean,
picture, just like this.
I'm seeing shadow, I'm seeing a sign, I'm seeing a little contrast from this angle here. But
Well,
So they
I-
didn't.
it's kind of like these, is that,
yeah, this is an example.
That's the
I think
applicant.
That's like the regular, that's all the rest of the stores, so the whole purpose of the pictures were just to kind of show that, we're not trying to
That's
be difficult, that is the trademark color.
Yeah.
So in reading this, we kind of, like I was speaking with the journal today, and they just read, external color shall be low reflective, subtle, neutral, or earth tone colors. I mean, it's not reflective, it's subtle, I don't know that black is neutral or not neutral, but, and then if that doesn't match, if you don't meet those requirements, then we would like suggestion from the two that says, that looks like number two would say you have the opportunity to have high intensity colors, neon, metallic, or less, approved. That's kind of like what their basis of their
Thank you.
decision.
Commissioner Kelly?
It's looking through the pictures they provided, it also looks like your trademark colors do have gray in them. Is that correct?
The one location with speaking has a little gray along the bottom.
So it would be too far-fetched to ask for gray in the building?
No, I mean, we're willing to work with whatever, it's all.
I particularly like what you're doing. This fashion police that we got going on is getting irritating for me.
You're out of order.
Marty?
So, I'm out of order. My opinion's out of
You-
We'll
order.
just raise your hand and we'll go through the commissioners if you don't mind. Commissioner?
So if I understand this correctly, they received a copy of what the, our master plan requirements are for buildings. They're aware of what,
So what happened was, it's a change in ownership, and so I believe they were intending on changing that facade to match their other stores, and so I believe they just truthfully weren't aware that we require that facade zoning permit change, and so we notified them, we do it every so often throughout the year, somebody does moves.
okay.
And so we let them know that the full black of the building, you need to have a facade zoning permit, but the full black wouldn't be consistent with our design
Yeah.
standards. And so that's when we had a conversation with them following that letter saying, there is that trademark provision. And I said, that's something that we will put forth to the planning commission. That is their ability because it is part of their trademark symbol. But my interpretation of the earth tone neutral wasn't all black. There are different things we can do to meet them halfway regarding adding some gray in there to offset a little bit of that black component to it. That wouldn't be horribly costly to kind of meet them halfway.
It's very much more like the original, I mean.
Commissioner Markford? Well, it's done now.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead first.
I was just gonna say, well, I wanna be fair to all businesses. That's why I brought up Thomas Car Wash. I do have to say, in some cases, I think we're a little bit too picky on colors and what owners wanna make their buildings. So I either will. Maybe I just don't like black. As well. All black, I'm wearing black. Anyway, I just wanna make sure that we treat all businesses fairly. And it's something that we work out.
Commissioner Johnson?
There's a lot of houses using this. I consider it kind of a very deep gray. In fact, I painted something inside the house so none of you can see it, but it's a very deep gray. And I think it looks sharp. I mean, a lot of people, there's a huge architectural movement out there in housing that they go into these old houses and do contrasting colors like this. And I think it looks great. Not everybody's gonna like it. How many of you have been to Hilton Head Island? Who's all been to Hilton Head Island?
Me.
Nobody, just you? Go down there, and when you do, let me know what you think of it, because every building, probably 95% of every building down there is beige or tan of some type. And to get back to the point of, this is your design color, driving around down there, I noticed like a Walmart, I mean, everything blends in together. There is no brand recognition on color because of their strict guidelines on what they think is nice. And apparently they do well down there, but I don't live on Hilton Head, and I don't want to live on Hilton Head. I want diversity, I want color. I think it's awesome. So,
Thank you. Commissioner Phillips?
Caitlin, can you tell us, is this one of the businesses that was recently cited for violating the interior air circulation issue?
I think that was added to your correspondence. I don't believe that they were specifically reviewed because they weren't operating. Or no, 100 West Genesee, so the rooftop units, active carbon filters when heater cooling is required, this facility is required to have 8 standing carbon filter units according to their approved plan. And so my understanding of that is that they weren't necessarily all operational, or at least with the rooftop units and things of that nature.
So they need 8 and they don't have 8 working?
So they have, my understanding is that there's 8 installed as part of that, but I don't think all of the components with the rooftop were in line.
So they were notified as not being in compliance?
Correct.
Okay. And I know, as a matter of fact, I went by it today, this building, and they have the word cannabis on their windows, which is a prohibited word in our advertising. Were they notified of that?
That I don't recall.
I know that, I thought they came in to get a new sign, and they were notified they couldn't put the word cannabis in the sign itself.
That was Shingle. I don't believe that's text.
Because there were letters sending out about the nonconformity component of certain signs, but all new signs have to meet that stipulation. And so I'm not sure of the status of those sign applications.
Okay.
Pretty sure that that's the only one that did not have it on their sign. The rest.
I have a
Be on
question,
the side of it.
I have a question, Anna, so you don't think that they were?
Well, I'm not sure unless you changed it, but.
So I do have a
It
question.
is on
for
the windows, I saw it today.
Okay.
Okay. So are you aware that you're in violation of these units, on your building? Were you,
No, I was actually gonna ask you that.
okay, so did you just buy this building and?
This just converted yet earlier this year.
So it's got the same base name. Are you a different company, a different owner?
Exclusive brands.
All right, and you guys did not apply for a sign permit yet?
That I can't speak
Back to the black leaf, and I guess, there's maybe a couple things this site has to be addressed. But to me, and this is my opinion, I do think the black is a neutral. I do, black, white, beige is kind of a neutral color. But again, this is always up for interpretation on our color palette and who has what wheel, I think. But I just think also we can't sometimes just say, well, it's already painted, so we're just gonna go with it. There's rules and regulations. Maybe there was no intent to know what the rules and regulations, which is, you have to do your due diligence when you get a building. But I understand that could have been perceived as a neutral. I would maybe think that it would have been neutral. So at this point, I don't think we should make a decision based on what was already done, but based on if we feel that the black is allowed, or we're saying it's not allowed as a neutral, and kind of go from there. I do think this is kind of a new trend in new buildings. I kind of like the black, but that's, I don't know if my personal opinion is what we have to follow our guidelines. And right now in our guidelines in neutral, we've said a black is not in our neutral, correct?
So it doesn't specifically say black is not considered neutral. So it's the earth tone component, and so black is not specifically earth tone scale. So they're allowed to have black, it's the predominant component of the building. And so they can keep portions of the building, definitely can stay black. That's not the intent, it's just that the entirety of the structure is black. And so that's something that you could, that's not one of the suggested motions, but that is something that you could indicate that is an interpretation, is that black is considered that neutral color, and so therefore black as an entire facade would be permissible.
And I guess that where are we at as far as, do we think we need to see a breakup in this? We have the mixed component, or what's, Commissioner Shea?
I'm kind of in agreement now with Debbie that I'm not quite sure to do what you're saying isn't then setting a precedent for people to disregard and just do what they want to do and then take a risk. So I'm thinking that we can't support leaving it as all is, because what's that say to the car wash? If they go ahead and do it, before they come back.
But is the question again, clarify this, is that the whole building is one solid color or that the color itself isn't in our, earth tone colors? Now, do we have any other buildings we allow to be one solid color out with the multiple, like brick and, you know, they have to have a multi-use and multi-facade?
So as part of it being that you're allowed to have like accent of different colors that don't otherwise consider that earth tone. And so that's where I'm saying that if you added a gray in there, you have that mixture, and I think that's something that we can even halfway on, as part of that regulation. So there are specifically 3 different ways you can take that as far as a decision tonight. So the first one would be is that you interpret the building colors, that black is considered a neutral color. And so that would mean that you could have entire black buildings, and that the effort that they've done would just be something that we would note that they are in compliant now, and then moving forward, whenever someone says, can we have a full black building, I'd say yes, because that black's a neutral color. And then you have the option where you would consider it a trademark color, so specific to the operator of this specific building. They're allowed to have a full black building because black is their trademark. So that's option number 2. That's less open-ended. And then you have option 3, which would be that it's not considered a neutral color and it's not appropriate as a trademark. And so therefore, you would like to see that mixture that I mentioned. So we don't want to see them have to paint the entire building all over again, but have some other color choice to break that up that's neutral. So gray probably be complementary to black that's already there.
All right, so should Commissioner Caruso?
Well, I would like to make a motion that you table this to the next meeting so everyone has an opportunity to look at it, as Commissioner Johnson suggested. And then you will have maybe a more full component of commissioners at the next meeting, and you can address it then. Support.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good idea. Any more discussion? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to ask, would it be possible if you could present us with some possible color schemes? An alternative that would be suitable for you if we went multicolor?
Sure.
Yeah, of the building, yeah,
Thank you.
if we were to go that way.
That's a good idea. All right, is any more discussion? We have a motion and support. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. All right, so we move on to development activities report as.
As noted, other than there is one thing I want to bring to your attention, so Blaine's site plan that we recently contingently approved, they are proposing a redesign of their building in which they are doing 20% smaller of footprint for the store. And so because they are proposing a smaller percent shrinkage, essentially the portion of the building that would be closer to the freeway has moved farther away from the freeway. It doesn't change the main function or flow of that building and things of that nature. They still want to be able to design that site so they can eventually add on that 20% they're not proposing at this time. And so that's something that we would be continued to process administratively because it's not over 25%. That's generally our threshold. If you're making a change that significant, it has to come back. And so
it's no longer gonna be 106,000 square feet.
that's right, so it's 20% smaller. And so that's something I wanted to bring to your attention, just that it's not gonna be as large of a building, but it's still gonna be processed administratively with that change.
Well, I just want to ask, are they eliminating the auto service center?
No, they are not.
All right. Discussion on that? All right, so the training report.
So a lot of individuals received my email inquiring about MSU Extension with some other joint communities that were interested in that program, and talking with them since. So they are looking at a training model that would be 6 weeks, consecutive weeks. So it'd be like every Wednesday or something that you would show there for an hour and a half hour, to then go to this training session held by Michigan State Extension's training program on basic zoning and planning. And so I was asked by the city manager over at Emlyn City to help figure out some dates and times and location, and then put a flyer out and see how many other communities are interested. The idea being that if we have a bunch of communities that come together, a little bit of a cost save, have them come out. We have currently the most interested members at 6. Emily City has 3. So I guess what I would like to ask the board is there any specific days of the week that I could propose? Something I'll have to ask City Hall about is, do we want to be the host first going to Emily City since we have the most interested? I mean, this building is, we have the presentation that they would need is large enough, we could accommodate several people in our meeting room, but I guess throw out what is of interest.
That sounds like a good question. Could it be, is there any way to be able to do it, like anybody who couldn't actually attend the meetings, that they could do a virtual or to log in and do kind of a web?
So that's something I would have to ask Michigan State Extension. They would be the trainers that would be part of that, and so it's their proprietary information that would, I would presume that they've done different trainings at official meetings before, so it's probably that it would, they're fine with it being recorded, but I don't know to what level of the sharing. So that's a question I can pass along.
Okay, just thinking maybe that way more people would eventually, have access to it and see it if they couldn't attend. I mean, what does everyone think of us hosting it? If we had more interest, kind of makes
Sure,
sense.
I'd reply to it.
So
Okay.
are we talking daytime or evening time?
20 years ago. I remember attending, I don't know if it was 20 years ago, but at least 10, 15. So I would think, I don't know, but, people work. Everybody has to be
Right,
retired.
So I just wanted to make sure, because.
What kind of training?
I don't want to put I cannot do Mondays or Wednesdays, and so that kind of
It was
limits
a
me,
good
so.
course.
And then, yeah, it's a rough thing, it's a rough in the summer, so.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that long.
yeah, 6 weeks, it seems like is there any way to do it during the, because we're invited by people or anything?
So that we
How long is each
haven't
training?
started talking about dates and times, but the easiest way to have a constructive conversation, and even for us as the 6 that were interested, know, can I fit that into my schedule? The dates generally needed to know, is it the first Thursday of every month as opposed to the second Thursday? Second Thursday wouldn't work for us because I hope you'd come here. And so that's something.
Do we know how long they would be? Like how length of time are we talking?
I believe they're 1.5 hours trainings because there's 6. So it's part of an official program. So the more rigid program is like a 3-day course. And so they essentially, instead of 3 days, you're now doing 6 weeks.
Okay.
If you were to unable to attend a session, would you have to make it up? Or,
Take credit for whatever part
Yeah.
you attended.
or do you have to do 5 out of 6?
As far as I know, you have to do all 6 to get the final certificate or whatnot for finishing that training, the basics training. I'm not sure that question, that goes back to that recorded question. Typically, when they do the presentation, and then they move to the next one. There is no going backwards.
If you could find out if there's a
Sure.
makeup provision, if someone candidates.
I can see a 6 week with, to have everybody commit to be able to attend 6 weeks. Seems like we could, potentially have people missing a meeting or so. Like, I feel like 6 weeks is hard to, obviously we could put it out there and have people sign up and be committed and go from there, but I wish we could somehow tie it into a meeting when we're together, but if it's an hour and a half and we have other people coming, that seems impossible. Well, can we get more information on how length for sure and how it works, if there's some way they would record it and let us see if we should put it in time and then make a plan from there?
Sure.
And
so-
Or what would 3
That's fine.
hours?
I can tell you it was held at the Annex building, and everybody showed up pretty much every week. So that room was pretty full.
So would it be better
You know,
to
the
do
half
3
year
hours? You
where
could do
the
a
seniors-
3 hour thing, is that what you did?
Like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something.
Maybe 3 hour training 3 times would be.
Yeah, then we'd cut it down because if it's 6 weeks, an hour and a half, you do 3 weeks, 3 hour session.
All right, well, if you could get more information, come back, maybe we can have a little bit, make a more informed decision.
Yes, and so I think a lot of the other communities are wanting to move a bit quicker than what we would do next month. So just as a heads up, it probably would be an email. And so just let me know what you think, and I'll try to do then the report out to let you know this is what the consensus was and things of that nature.
And if it would help you from this point, Tuesday, Thursdays would work. I know one Thursday wouldn't work, but most of the time Tuesdays and or Thursday would work for me.
Well, send out the email, get a, everyone responds, you have it from you and see who can do what maybe. Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Shinn?
Well, I'm sorry to see Dale leaving us. Hopefully it will be for pleasant things. And thank you for all your hard work and effort over the years. I don't remember how many it is exactly. Maybe you don't want that set, but as a peer person, I appreciate all your efforts.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Commissioner Kelly?
I just want to say how proud I am of Lapeer finally moving towards giving people, citizens, alternative sports outlets. This is a long time coming for me, I'm pretty sure. The first meeting I had with you, I said, how do I get a skate park here? And you go, Parks and Rec, et cetera, et cetera. And now, not that it's, but now it's kind of bad that it's the last one, but now we actually have something along the lines of a skate park with the pump track and skate park features. Me coming from a lifelong alternative sports participant, I'm ecstatic. It's unbelievable that I have just approved the capital improvement that's in there. So, but it's been a pleasure working with you, Cheryl. Cheryl, see you down the road, but it's been a pleasure down.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'd like to reiterate about the pump track. I think it's gonna be a great addition, and I think there's some other things that are gonna boil over. And this is really gonna be a huge cycling community. It's already grown leaps and bounds in the last 2 years. I think it's awesome.
Commissioner Whitford?
I'm looking forward to the projects for pump track, disc golf as well. I think it's gonna be great for the community. You're very much right, correct, that it's a long time coming, and this is something that's getting people want it. It covers all age groups. Well, maybe not the pump tracks for me, but I said I'd try it, you know, but I think it's a great thing, and I'm glad that the commission was able to, the park department recommended, our board recommended, and the commission have set aside funds for this, so I'm happy about it. And no further comments.
I forgot. I'm sorry. Do we need to, should we address some kind of a thank you to the donor who has probably enabled us to do that for the parks, to expand it? I mean, is that something, it's not necessarily the plan commission's place to do that, but
Are you talking about the pump track and,
the donor who has, yes.
well, for those two projects, it
You're
came
talking
from
about the
various
water
funds.
slide. The water
The
slide.
water slide came from a
Right,
big donor.
whoever that donor was.
It's being handled, I think,
Yeah.
it works.
I'm gonna give Jill the last commissioner comment tonight, so I'm gonna go before you. And I'm just gonna say it's been a pleasure. You'll be greatly missed, and you were a great city leader. So I'm sorry to see you go, but thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
So,
Oh, well, I wanted to touch base on just a couple of things. As far as the CIP and the process that we went through, how it dovetails into the budget.
It has been that way since before I started here. The planning commission reviews the CIP. They go over the details and then they recommend it to the city commission to be then incorporated into the budget, where they will then look at individual projects and go through it in theory line by line. So I wanted you to know it's been done that way since before I came here. This is my 18th CIP, and I'm proud to present it. The staff works hard on it, and I think you saw an $11 million CIP is results of a lot of grant funding that has been acquired in the past, coming to fruition. And, you know, that is an awesome use of taxpayer dollars. We get a lot of benefit at very little cost to the citizens. And I want to say it's always been a great honor working with this board. They're very dedicated and for many years have been focused on what is best for the community, not what's politically important or specific for one person. And I applaud you for it. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Well, maybe I don't-
She made her own.
What
is that called? Zoom proceeding, closing the clock.
Shoot, I'm about lunch and dinner.
Closing the clock.
I just talked to these guys.
Kim, you good?
Yes.
Could be better.
Ah,
Did you say?
Travel safe.
Yeah.